Good evening, everybody. Welcome to round 4 of the 2024 season finale of the Caribbean Touring Car Championship in the Brazilian Tour. We are currently hosting round 4 at the breathtaking streets of Mirandopolis, known for its vibrant colors, and this city and its passion for motorsport has just transformed its bustling downtown into a high-octane racing arena. We've heard that this is a combination of Monaco, Macau, and the favelas all put into one track. So the drivers have been going at it for the past few days, just getting in every inch of this track. Its narrow roads will lend to some very dramatic and exciting battles here this evening. This track, its origin does date back to the late 1990s when the city did first host its first local touring car championship. We just find a driver there as we ride along board with Mr. Roger Kello in the 1990s as part of Brazil's national championship. But over the years, the city has earned a reputation for its thrilling finishes and unforgiving challenges with the very narrow lanes, sharp corners, high-speed straights, and the drivers just sweating their cojones off as they try to find the limits of their cars on this track. It is a bumpy track as well, so the lower cars like the Honda Civic may or may not find it a little bit more difficult, the Renault as well, but cars like the BMW will see it, I guess based on the suspension tuning of some of the drivers, you may see them going a little bit slidey here this evening. But as we gear up for this this absolutely epic round, one that the drivers and myself has been looking forward to. We are looking forward to the history, the intensity, the stakes combined to promise a night of unforgettable racing. We would like to extend or use this opportunity to extend our apologies for missing last week's race. From the stream point of view, at least the drivers did battle it out, and unfortunately it was one race to watch. However, we did have a family emergency, or I had a family emergency, and unfortunately could not get back home in time to start the stream. But that being said, this is the semi-finals. This is round 4. We have one more round next week at Sao Paulo. But this one is the penultimate race that will determine not even just the top 3, because the fight is even on for 4th all the way down to 6th, but we'll definitely reach out to that very soon. But just to give you the audience a quick rundown of the current ballast system from last week, Jaden Harrison, who is sitting currently with the fastest lap of the race, or the practice session, my apologies, is sitting with 60 kilograms of ballast. Rohey Robinson, sitting in P3, is with 54, and Kyle Barrett with 48. So those 3 are the top 3 on the current podium. This is the practice session, but at the same time, they are the top 3 in the ballast situation as well. They're also the only 3 who have seen the 204s, so that is another key note to look out for, as these drivers have been trying to find more and more time. Rohey Robinson is a 205 flat, but I believe once we know him to be the Mr. Sandman himself, once he drops the sandbags, he should be finding his pace over the duration of that qualifying session. John Singleton and Rodrigo Wild, the Chile driver and the Australian driver, 2 good friends of ours. We are planning up our first karting championship, which will begin next week, so all information will be posted with regards to that. But let me just finish up quickly with the ballast system. So Jaden with 60 kilograms, Rohey Robinson with 54, Kyle Barrett with 48, Kimani Eastman with 42, Cale Vaden Ropo with 36, Rodrigo with 30, John Singleton with 24, Michael McNamee with 18 kilograms, Roger Kello with 12, and Daniel Velez, who unfortunately will not be racing with us this evening as he has some prior plans, as he's trying to win a major event over there in Colombia tomorrow that may give him an opportunity at racing in real life. So Always excited to see and hear about, you know, the new opportunities that sim racers get. As you see, that I believe is Rodrigo coming right there on the rear bumper of his teammate Mr. John Singleton. So he has found the pace this evening. He has definitely shared that he enjoys this track, and he is going to be one of those drivers that we will definitely be watching for in the duration. But there you see it, the exits of some of these corners may just lend into some very sticky walls, so the drivers have to be extremely careful. Mikhail Charles now, you know, he's typically one to use qualifying to practice, so this must be a huge statement for him to start his practice session from the actual practice session, because he himself has deemed this race a little bit more difficult than he would have anticipated. But that being said, as we say every single week that he's involved, his race pace is always much better than his qualifying pace, and he is literally just using his time to learn the track with a full tank of gas. No need to use the hybrid system that we have installed in these Caribbean touring cars, but he's just trying to learn as much and get closer and closer to the front of the pack as the session goes on. But as we speak, we have 7.5 minutes until the beginning of qualifying. We have a 15-minute qualifying shootout for the top, the whole entire grid to make its case at a shot at the podium to start. At least, as we say, is that Nathan Brown? No, I believe it was Commander Eastman that just came around that corner. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have about 7 minutes until the beginning of qualifying, and then we will have two 20-minute sprint races. Although we did make mention to the drivers that yes, it is a sprint, but this is not just to go full blast 24/7. This is going to take some guts. This is going to take some patience, and at the end of the day, it's going to take some balls to see even some overtaking maneuvers coming into fruition. So that being said, please get your water, get your soda, get your food, get your dinner. We thank you for spending your Friday evening with us here at the JSRA. We have so much in store for next season that we cannot wait to begin to announce. But please, if you have the chance, follow us on our Instagram channel. All of our information can be found there, where we will be posting information on next season, as well as, there you see it again, these drivers trying to use up as much of the track as possible, but just that slight touch. You will even see some of the spectators being run over here this evening, as some looking like they're very comfortable on track. But as I was saying, please feel free to join us, follow us on Instagram, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and we're looking forward to many more events with you here, as we are trying to grow the JSRA and have an absolute epic product to provide to you guys as well. It can also be noticed that you may or may not have noticed the new graphics, as we have made a few changes to our streaming PC, and it is looking very dandy on my end, if I do say so myself, and the drivers are just excited to get rearing. So I'll give you a break, a quick sabbatical away from my voice, as the drivers will continue to take their time out and put down the tarmac, the rubber onto the tarmac, get as much practice in the next 5 minutes before the beginning of this race, and the drivers are going to definitely have an absolute blast, as I'm sure we will. And there is Kimani Eastman again finding the wall, but that's going to be the theme of this evening. Hopefully not, but as it stands, that definitely looks like it could very well be the theme for this evening. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, please sit back, relax, and enjoy the spectacle of this beautiful track. It's very fun to drive when you're not under pressure, so I can't imagine what's going to happen when, you know, you have the likes of Mr. Sandman here breathing down your inside as he just takes a dive there. So that's just a little prelude to what is to come by Mr. Rohir Robertson making that move on Nathan Bryan. He is in Kimani Eastman's livery, the very well themed Hyundai Elantra, and there he goes rearing into the rear end. So a little bit of Hyundai on Hyundai drama there. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, sit back, enjoy as the battle will ensue. Qualifying begins in only 3.5 minutes. This would be a very good time. We'll just ride along quickly with Mr. Rodrigo and John Singleton there. This would be a good time to just give you a little bit of enlightenment on the karting championship that we will have starting in a week's time. We will be starting in Italy at the Franciacorta karting circuit, which is going to be an absolute doozy if I do say so myself. So that is the first weekend in December, followed by Hamilton, Oakley, Alaharma, and then the finale will be our own home track here in Jamaica, which we have been developing over the past few months with the AC karting team. John and Rodrigo here that we're watching as we're riding along board with. We're currently developing the Palisades track. We've gotten a LiDAR scan to get the most accurate depiction of what that track is to be, as well as some very fun Easter eggs, let's say. Excuse me. So that will be the finale at the Palisades International Circuit at the end. Well, that's going to be in January. My apologies. So yes, the full schedule will be released on our social media platform on Instagram at JSRA official. Please, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to join us and share your comments, share what you want to see us do to improve the product. We'd love to bring a better, more exciting, interesting racing season next season. We have a lot in store. We've gotten some commitments that, boy, I'm predicating all to our Heavenly Father, because without Him none of this would be possible. But what is to come, ladies and gentlemen, sit back and relax, and please, if you want to join and be involved in these races, we gladly invite you to join us. We have a full center being built as we speak, and that will be reopened next year. I'm hoping by the latest February or January. But we are in the midst of renovation there as Roger Keller comes around the corner to see a Michael McNamee in the wall. And again, those walls can be extremely sticky, as you will see in the next few moments. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, free practice is coming to a conclusion. We have qualifying beginning in about a minute, and as you can see, that BMW is going to be very slidey. The track is bumpy, and as well tight corners. You want as great of an exit. Throttle input is going to be absolutely, I wanted to say diabolical, but it's going to be absolutely imperative to really control these cars here this evening. So that being said, sit back, relax, and let's get the show on the road. We have the top three with the top three ballast as well. I'm sure they will be inching and aching, ready to get racing as soon as possible. They are the three in the championship fight. and we will definitely enjoy what is to come in the next few moments. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now anticipating the beginning of qualifying. I am in my Christmas uniform, and I had to go with the green and white for this evening's race as we are coming or bringing the Brazilian Tour to a conclusion. But now is a good time as any to start putting in your bets who will be the victor. Last week's race, unfortunately, again, you guys did miss it because of my on the things that held us from being able to stream. But Jaden Harrison, Rohir Robinson, and Kyle Barrett were literally fighting tooth and nail for the majority of the race. And it wasn't just them, it was about from first to about seventh that was literally just tooth and nail for the majority of the race. So we are seeing the pace come back, and the drivers are very excited to see what is to come tonight. Roger Keller is the first person out here this evening, and we will ride along board with him as he will be tackling the first coming of this track. Hearing some of the drivers speaking and very excited already. And right behind Mr. Keller is Mr. Robinson, who clearly wanted to be out on the track first and foremost, so he's already overtaken. And I guess Rohe will be the first person for us to get a qualifying lap from. So clearly he's already showing what he wants to get done. Let's just get the live timing on board. Yup. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have very good spacing actually, other than for the top two with Rohe and Roger Keller. Maybe the two working together, maybe to get a tow. There are about three sections where you can, and this is one of them, where you can definitely utilize the tow. But right behind Roger Keller is Mikhail Charles of Trinidad and Tobago, so he will be the third driver to come. But Rohe Robinson leads from Roger Keller from Mikhail Charles. Michael McNamee there sounding like he's having a little bit of an issue getting on the server, so hopefully we will get him back as he just disconnects quickly. But that being said, Rohit Robinson now coming around the final corner. As you can see, the gas station, the pit entry is a gas station, so that's good. Well, again, this is a street circuit. We are at the Mirandopolis circuit downtown in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The first few races that did begin here were the touring cars, but yes, that being said, there goes Mr. Robinson into turn one, and he's already looking very quick and like he wants to set a precedent to start. The sandbags are still very much so in his car, and he's ready and waiting. Roger Keller is a little bit further away. The next closest person was supposed to be Michael Charles, but somehow has found himself ahead of Mr. Robinson, so clearly at some point had to head back to the pits. But as we go along now, Rohe is, well, again, the first person on track, and he will be finishing up sector 1 in about right about now. Yup. And will be enjoying this long straightaway to himself. I'm guessing he would have loved to have a little bit of a tow here, because that does aid him in the top speed section of the car. But there you will see him using there. This track does have a lot of fast speed sections, even though it is very tight and narrow, so please look out for that as you see him using the sidewalk as what would, I guess, originally call the curb. But here in sim racing you can definitely enjoy the utilization, but you can't use too much of it or you will be losing time more than gaining. So yeah, that being said, he does have a purple sector 1. Sector 2 is not the greatest, but still very clean. He's about a second clear of Kyle Barrett right now, 6/10 to be exact, at second clear of Roger Keller, my apologies. So he's still very much so pushing Jaden Harrison as well. Right now, Roger Keller sets a purple sector 2, and that is Rohit Robinson finding himself in the wall. So that will be his lap undone. We'll ride along board with Mr. Keller now, who will be, I guess, the fastest man on track for the foreseeable future, but quickly dismantled is Jaden Harrison with that sector 2. So Roger will come around now, and that is his first lap of the race. We'll just take a quick look at Jaden Harrison, who is also very rapid. Kyle Barrett is coming across the line now with a 204.741, so that does put him on provisional pole. Jaden Harrison is the next one, and he will not be taking that position from Kyle, but 205.319 is P2. And who was that? I believe that was Rodrigo, who did put that car into P3 with a 205.712, but looked like he had a vendetta against the likes of Jaden Harrison in front of him for a moment there, as it seems he just lost his braking zone. There's Nathan Brown in that Hyundai Elantra. You may have been used to him in the BMW M2, but he did use his one and only switch for the season and is now very much so comfortable in that Hyundai Elantra. Michael Charles there as well is somebody we will be watching for in the race itself, but nonetheless we'll just take a look with Kyle now, who did set a 204.741. His fastest lap in practice was a 204.5, and he's already about 4/10 clear in sector 1. So will this be even better of a lap for himself, as he is looking rapid? And the live timing I'm seeing about 7/10 is his delta, so he's looking very good and could easily put this car on provisional pole to secure that spot for the duration of this race. Rohit Robinson has not, and this is his biggest issue, his qualifying. But as we've seen in the past, don't count Rohit out up until the last moment, because he himself will leave that final run for the last lap or the last 2 laps, and that lap will just be increasingly rapid, as we've seen in the past. So Rohit Robinson sits in P5 now, but right now we're right along board with Mr. Kyle Barrett, who is looking like he's going to secure provisional pole with a force as he comes around the final corner. This is the last stretch, and he passes the line. What time will it be? Will it be the first 203? 204.044. That is the fastest lap of the week. Jaden Harrison is right there behind him as well with a 204.564. So he has some work to do. He has about 5 tenths to go, and there you see it with the lower cars. It just hitting the curb in the wrong way will just put your car on two wheels. The track is bouncy, so the lower cars like the Honda Civic will be feeling the effects tonight. As well as the Renault, my apologies, will be feeling the effects of the truck. So we'll see how the drivers will navigate this evening and see how best they will come to bring this race to a very fun conclusion. But that being said, we ride along board now with Rodrigo Senewal, the Chile driver, who is now sitting in P3 and looking very comfortable. 205.712. He's 100th up on Roger Keller, the Swiss driver, but that P3 is not safe as yet. But again, with a track like this, you can't push as much as you want to, because one slight mistake, as we've seen with Rohey Robinson early, can just make that your race undone. Michael McNamee now taking P3 with a 205.018, 5 tenths off of Jaden Harrison. 205 loads were the time to beat in practice for the final podium position. I believe it was Rohey Robinson with a 205.014. So only 4 thousandths slower. So will anybody be able to dismantle that time? But right now, Michael McNamee looking very promising. I'm going to assume Rohey will put it there as I speak. He puts it up there with a 204.200. So he himself only a 10th off of P1 and looking very comfortable out there. And he's clearly listening to us on the stream, and he did say it actually that he would be listening in to make sure that we don't do any form of commentator's curse. But at this point, I'm going to call that the commentator's blessing, as he finds himself now up into P2, and that will be Jaden Harrison on the final podium position, final points position now by Nathan Bryan. Deville Parker and Luis Arenas and Nathan Bryan are the three who have not set a time as yet. As we see, this is Nathan Bryan coming around the final corner, so this will be his first indicative lap. Where will that put him? I'm sure it will put him above Kimani Eastman right now with a 217.194, and his last lap was a 207, but it seems as if it may or may not have been invalidated. And ladies and gentlemen, again, this is what you're going to see with those lower cars, especially hit the curb the wrong way, and you're going to see the car going and finding itself up onto two wheels. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting race. The track has potholes, the track has fast corners, the track has some very narrow exits where if you barely touch those yellow barriers or the wall or the pole, boy, you're going to have a very long evening, is all I can say, as we see the pole sitter, Mr. Calvert, there in the distance in that Mitsubishi Lancer. And he himself is still improving as this session continues. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a fun part about the street circuits, where the corners just keep coming at you one after the other, and you have to be so precise and careful, but at the same time you want to try and squeeze as much time as possible to try and gain your advantage, and sometimes just the bigger balls just prevails, as you can see here with Mr. Barrett. And we will ride along board with him as he starts his next flying lap, and it comes around turn one. Turn one is so tricky as well, because you want to use the curb, but you have to use so little bit of it, or you will find yourself careening, sometimes even into the sidewalk area. So you have to be so careful, as you see him just rotating that car heading down now into turn 4. But this is where Jaden Harrison has just put the lap of his life in, with a 2-minute 4.025, so 200th up on Kyle Barrett. Now, what a lap that must have been for Jaden, who was complaining about his car's suspension here this evening. So he himself will definitely be happy with that lap. But right now, Jaden Harrison, Kyle Barrett, and Rohir Robinson are the three, and then right after them are 205s from P4 to P6. Rodrigo did set a faster lap in practice, so please don't count him out just yet. But 2.5 minutes remaining in this practice session, qualifying session, and the drivers still haven't given up an inch or an ounce on the drivers ahead of him, and they will be pushing for these final laps in the next few moments. But yes, as I was saying, this is the beauty of these street circuits. It can be so difficult because you want to, extract as much out of the car as possible, but just that one mistake can just be your race undone. As we see Mr. Charles there setting a purple sector 2. We'll take a quick look, but his sector 1 was so poor that this may not really push him any further. Let's see as he comes around the next fastest part of the track, and he will be definitely looking to see where he can be placed, and that's a 205.962. So imagine if he got a good sector 1, that was about 3/10 clear of Kyle Barrett in sector 2, so, and 1.5 seconds down in sector 1. So imagine if he could hook up that sector 1, if he's getting that track as he's going along, maybe he could very well be a threat in the dying stages. This could be his last lap here for this evening for the qualifying session. Still noticing Louise and Daville hasn't set an indicative lap as yet, and I'm sure they will be definitely trying to set it as quickly as possible, but if not, they will be starting from the back of the pack. Michael Charles are improving, but still not that much where he would be benefiting further. Maybe he can gain on the 2 in front of him, but as he stands 1.3 seconds off of pole, he's about 3/10 quicker than his last lap. So we'll definitely watch to see what he can bring to the party in the next few stages. Calbert there as well, noticing a 48 flat in sector 1, which is rapid, so he is slightly improving on his time. Will he be able to stick time and dethrone Mr. Harrison there? My apologies, looking at the timing sheet on the computer is showing a little bit of a difference here, but it's now up to date. So yeah, will he be able to dethrone the likes of Mr. Harrison? Rohir Robinson is in the pits, so is he conceding his qualifying session? And that is Michael Charles into the wall as well, and that will be his final lap. Calbert there though, again, he is looking very good in sector 2, not too shabby in sector 1, so this could be the lap. He's only down by 200th of a second. Will this be it? He's on that final start finish stretch, and he crosses the line, and that puts him in the 203s. Calbert now takes pole position and will be starting from P1. We do have P11 Kimani Eastman, who did finally set a lap and now is upgraded into P9. And what a lap there from Kyle, almost 3/10 quicker in sector 3 than he did in the previous run, so that just saved his lap completely. So now he's about a 10th up on the closest competitor in Jaden Harrison. Rohir Robinson as well is the next one. Rodrigo Senna Wild, and who's that? Nathan Brown. Nathan comes around now to be promoted up into P8. So Kimani Eastman now relegated to the best of the rest in the points positions. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be an absolute spectacle. The top 3 drivers from last week and in the overall championship are sitting in position ready to get this fight underway. We are missing some key drivers here tonight. Again, Daniel Velez will not be making his race debut here this evening because of the real life opportunity that he will be getting if he somehow gets to win tomorrow's race in the simulation race in Colombia. So we will be praying for him and hoping for his best as he will be tackling on that event, and we will see him next week as we typically see him here in the Caribbean Touring Car Championship. But nonetheless, the battles that we have here, especially for the top three, and then from fourth to sixth, and then I'm never going to count out Mr. Charles from Trinidad, who never seems to, his qualifying pace is always, and he has given me permission to say, is always trash, but his race pace itself, Mr. Mikhail Charles of Trinidad, is always impeccable, always finding himself in the top three. And especially in a race like here where we are going to see some very dramatics with the tight corners and narrow roads, I would not be surprised. I will not count out Mr. Charles there in the next few stages. Here's Nathan Brown, who should be heading into the pits now to rally the troops for the rest of this qualifying session. But ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be an absolutely epic battle of two 20-minute sprint races. And the second being the reverse grid. We have 13 drivers, 12 drivers, my apologies, who will be fighting it out for the next 40 minutes. And I, for one, cannot wait to see what is about to come. But in the meantime, we'll have a quick word from our title sponsor for the season, Ceramicare, the premium ceramic coating industry in Jamaica. And ladies and gentlemen, right now we have Mr. Kyle Barrett. Now, he was a rookie to the JSRA, not to racing, as he does have a real life racing career and has raced in some very impeccable cars in his lifetime. I'll leave him to give those announcements in the future, especially if he finds himself on the podium here tonight, which he is in prime position too. But he does sit now on pole position, followed by Jaden Harrison in P2. He does have the most ballast here this evening, followed by Rohir Robinson. I believe it's Roger Keller who should be in P4, yes. So please don't watch what you're seeing on your timing sheets right now. Who was in fifth? I believe it was Michael McNamee, yes. Followed by, was it Rodrigo Senna Wild? But yeah, we will see the correct order in a few moments time. It is a rolling start, so the drivers will be using this time to warm their tires and catch up and, you know, gain as much final track knowledge as they can as we lead up into the next few moments of this race. But yes, as I was saying, Michael McNamee is in P5, followed by Rodrigo Senna Wild, followed by Nathan Brown, followed by Mikhail Charles, Luis Arenas of Colombia, Kimani Eastman, John Singleton, and DeVille Park to round out the grid. This is an awesome opportunity, as always, to make mention that these drivers never fail to put on a show, especially on a track like this. We do hope that the show will stay as clean as possible, especially a track like this, where it can be so easy to lose out. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have few moments until race time. Drivers there weaving as much as possible. The drivers just discussing with them quickly the weaving areas where they can increase their speed, where they need to slow down, where they need to start preparing themselves for the next 20-minute sprint race. But ladies and gentlemen, this battle is going to get very heated in the next few moments. We're hearing the drivers speaking to their one another. Kyle Barrett now starting from pole position. Jaden looking very calm in that Honda Civic, has the likes of Rohir Robinson, who the two are not necessarily teammates but have found themselves working together in the past. Will that be the case for them to catch up to the next Jamaican in front of them? Roger Keller as well, the Swiss driver who tends to find himself in the top 5, top 4 more often than not. Does look like he will be trying to mount an attack here this evening. Michael McNamee as well, and Rodrigo Senna Wild are the next few right there behind, and the drivers will be heading into double file line right now. As we're now heading past the final corner, and right there by the gas station right here is a fast S chicane. As you can see, Rodrigo there losing out a little bit of time there, but catches up quickly to get this race underway. But as we said, we have the lights on now, and we will go green light racing in only a moment's time. And there we go, green light racing. Jaden Harrison does look like he has a better run on the inside and does make that move. And who was that? And that's a safety car, safety car, safety car, safety car. And ladies and gentlemen, we did have a brief safety car, but we did not want to keep the racing away for too long. And now this looks very nerve-wracking, if I do say so myself, as Rodrigo and Roger are making contact already. And there goes Rodrigo into the wall. Roger Keller as well. And that is another safety car. Another safety car, guys. Another safety car. All right. And ladies and gentlemen, my apologies, but yes, we just had to have a chill guy moment with the drivers and just be reminded that this is not going to be the easiest track, especially street circuit. So, you know, exercising patience is going to be key here this evening. So all drivers has agreed to just take it easy for the beginning of the race, and then we'll get into the battles as the race prolongs. But that being said, we will have another rolling start followed by two 20-minute sprint races. So we'll get back into the action in only a moment's time. Just be patient with us as to not have a repeat of what we just saw in on that last beginning of that race. And the final motivational talks have been said, and chill guys are all about. We have a drivers pact where the drivers will respect each other for at least the first lap and gain as much freedom from the others, and then we can get into our individual battles. The pace and the excitement will come. It's just about getting through the first few sections of this track. So that being said, just a reminder, we do have Mr. Barrett there in that Mitsubishi Lancer, and if you guys do remember in the past, the Mitsubishi Lancer is my favorite car on the track. So right now, unbiased opinion, go Kyle Barrett, go. Jaden Harrison, one of my closest friends right now, and a young protege here at the JSRA, sits in P2. Rohir Robinson right there, breathing down his back and waiting to get racing, sits in P3. Roger Keller of Switzerland in P4. Michael McNamee in P5, and he is the Jamaican driver on the flight stick that we have seen just put on some really impeccable drives here. So very excited to see what he can bring. The Chile driver of Rodrigo in P6 sits right there in that BMW M2, followed by Mikhail Charles in that BMW M2 of Trinidad and Tobago. Nathan Brown, who is right back on a steering wheel. He hasn't been in one for quite some time. Was that somebody into the wall? It may have been, I believe, Luis Arenas right behind in that Toyota Corolla. Luis Arenas did hit, but he didn't die, thank God. Kimani Eastman sits now in P10, final points position. John Singleton in P11 of AC Karting. Deville Park rallies the troops in P12. Kelvin Roper was on track, but it looks as if he has departed. And we are heading down now into the final corner to start this evening's racing. And ladies and gentlemen, I will not lie, at the moment I am holding my breath, as the drivers will be themselves. Jaden Harrison catching up right alongside Mr. Barrett there, and I'm sure the two drivers, we already saw what can happen from turn one, and there's a little bit of distance there between Kyle and Jaden, and it is green light racing. So Kyle Barrett now safe from Jaden Harrison, and there, who again? Jaden Harrison, it looks like he just disconnected from the servo. It looked like he was a rocket heading down now to take out the drivers, but Jaden Harrison just straight into Rohir Robinson, it seems, and took out his... No, Jaden is on the track. What's going on? My apologies, folks. I'm sure you just saw what I saw, so I'm not being dumb, I hope. But that being said, Jaden Harrison is on pole position with Kyle Barrett there, right there in his rear view. Followed by the Swiss driver Roger Keller. The only driver who's lost so far is Mr. Robinson, who is quite a ways back, but with a track like this, I'm sure over time will be catching up to the pack, but that takes him firmly out of the points position for now. Michael McNamee now chasing down the likes of the Swiss driver for that final podium position, as well as Mikhail Charles, who has already made up 2 positions and will be one position, my apologies, sits now in P5, so I'm sure he will be even looking to see if he can gain that final podium position. Now the fight is between the Swiss driver and the Jamaican, and that BMW M2 is looking rapid, assuming he's using the hybrid system late on the brakes, uses a curb, almost touches a wall, but clean is he. Roger Keller now is on the hunt and is now using his hybrid system back in offense, but does not have the proper line, and there he goes, careening out off of the road itself, and will be taking out a few of the spectators. Very late on the brakes there was he, and back on track now sits in P9 of the track, and Deville Park will be trying to make quick works of him. So honest mistake there for Roger Keller. But now Michael McNamee has the likes of the Trinidad driver Michael Charles in his rearview mirror. But we've seen in the past where Michael can be very tenacious on defense, so we'll definitely look forward to what's going to happen there in the next few moments. Rodrigo sent a while as well. There's Luis Arenas later on the brakes, but that might not be ideal for you here. Overshooting the corner slightly, and there you see the curb, especially with the BMW M2. I'm sure those drivers will be trying their best to not touch it or use it too much in certain regards, as it can just throw the balance off on the car, as you will see that car just bouncing, and you have to do an instant correction. But yes, much cleaner start to the race than the first race, if I do say so myself. Rohir Robinson has already made up one position on Nathan Bryan. I'm assuming Nathan may or may not have found himself into a barrier. Jaden Harrison has just pulled away from Kyle Barrett as well, who's just looking very comfortable out there. So not again, the start of this race was so strange, because we saw where Jaden literally just flew through the map. So that's definitely something that we'll hear about in the post-race interviews. But now Roger Keller will be on the hunt for Deville Park. This is not the best track for overtaking either, so I'm sure, I am 99% sure, the drivers will just have to put out some really huge cojones here to make any move stick. As you can see, Mr. Michael Charles there sizing up a move on Michael McNamee. Just looked right, looked left, and Michael just defended that where he needed to put the car where it should have been, and lives to fight another day. Michael Charles now sitting in P4, and again, we did say it, his qualifying pace is absolutely atrocious. It is trash. But once he gets on track and begins racing, he just finds a pace and just gets quicker and quicker as the race goes on. 204.8 is the time by Jaden Harrison. That's almost a second. That is a second clear of P2, and everybody else is in 207s. The only next person down is 206 by Kimani Eastman, but there goes Michael Charles on the inside, and was that too late? Quick switcheroo, now gained one position but ended up losing it, and +1 to Rodrigo Senawile. So Michael now has to fight back and still will have the likes of Luis Arenas in his rearview mirror, and very late on the brakes there was Michael Charles, but still clean enough to keep it going, and now will be on pursuit for the next driver ahead. Michael McNamee will be defending with his life. He has a Chile driver of Rodrigo right there in his rear view. I'm sure we'll know that at any moment any move can be made to try and dismantle that position from Mr. McNamee. We'll take a quick look. Rohir Robinson still there on the hunt, but he's at least catching back up now, as he now sees the likes of Roger Keller, Deville Park, Kimani Eastman, and John Singleton leading this pack. So the race is now separated into 3 separate races between Jaden Harrison and Cal Barrett, Michael all the way down to Louise, and then John all the way down to Rohir Robinson. Nathan Bryan a little bit out of the loop there, maybe finding himself in a barrier at some point during this session. But yes, that being said, Michael McNamee will be the man that we will be watching, as he is now defending against the likes of the Chile driver in Rodrigo and Michael. And Jaden Harrison has disconnected again, which promotes Mr. Barrett now into P1. No, there. So Jaden is just in and out of the servo, as he now loses 2 positions and drops and falls back to P3. And again, P4 now that Michael Charles comes around. So Kyle Barrett now leads from Michael McNamee, from Michael Charles, from Jaden Harrison, who will now be under threat by Luis Arenas, who is definitely taking a look there. But into turn 1, there goes Jaden Harrison taking a tighter corner, and that looks like his move is done. But no, he still has the likes of Michael Charles right there on the inside, but not enough to keep himself safe. Jaden Harrison back up into the podium position. Michael Charles now has the likes of Luis still just breathing down the back of his BMW M2 in that Toyota Corolla, and I'm sure right now Michael will be trying to use his good friend Mr. Jalen Harrison, good friend off the track, let's say, to just pull him away from the pack. But right now Michael is looking prime and proper to maintain that P2 position, as you see him sliding out and heading now, trying to chase down the race leader, Mr. Kyle Barrett, who is now, I'm sure, just going to be on a very easy Sunday night cruise. Just make sure he doesn't make any mistakes and he should be fine. But right now we will be watching Jaden Harrison, because not sure what's going on with his connection, but that just keeps looking so suspect. We saw him disconnect in the first stage of this race, and then you just saw him there disconnected, and then the next we saw him was in that final S chicane by the in the final sector. So whew, we will definitely hope for the best for Mr. Harrison here this evening. Mikhail Charles are losing a little bit of pace here as well to the Jamaican driver Luis Arena still as well. Right there behind John Singleton, Roger Kello, Kimani Eastman and Deville Park now, and Rohir Robinson, who I'm seeing sizing up Mr. Deville Park, uses that hybrid system. Deville Park though overshoots the corner and is sent straight into the barrier. But guess what? Rohir Robinson didn't just make one move, he made two, because I think Kimani was there hoping and praying for his life more than anything else, and just had to back out, and that just gave Rohir the opportunity to make those moves 2 into 1. And now is promoted into P8. He has the likes of the Swiss driver Mr. Roger Kello right in front of him. Rohe is in the championship hunt as well, so please be reminded that he is chasing for points, and his closest competitor is now sitting in P3, so at least he's a little bit closer to him, but still nonetheless with 11 and a half minutes remaining, you know, as much points as possible would definitely help him in that run to catch back up. So he has 2 drivers in front of him, Mr. Roger Keller right in front, as well as Mr. John Singleton in that BMW M2. Rohe is just breathing down the rear end of that BMW M2. That Renault, my apologies, as the Renault of Roger Keller is breathing down the rear end of that BMW M2, driven by John Singleton of AC Karting. So this is going to be an absolute spectacle up until the end of this race. As you see the 3, this is how the racing looked last week, where the drivers were just inseparable, and it was just 1 and 2 minor mistakes that caused them to either get a break from their closest competitor, but then the track was just so neat and tidy that all the drivers, and there goes Rohir Robinson into the rear end of Roger Kello, and that looked like he ended up hitting the wall, and that was all of his hard work undone. Rohir Robinson now sits in P9, P10, my apologies, and I'm sure will be beating himself now. He and Roger has found themselves in close contention for the past few weeks, and every single time in another incident, so I'm sure will be complaining to himself. But that one was not the commentator's curse. We did mention that he was going to cuss him about it earlier, but not anymore, as we see Luis Arenas there overshooting the corner again, and that will just put him right into the hands of Mr. Roger Keller and John Singleton right now. But boy, Rohir Robinson, if you are listening, or if you are going to listen back to this stream, I am sorry. Kimani Eastman now in P8. I'm sure we'll be definitely trying his best to see if he can gain back another place or 2 in the next few moments. And this track is just so, I mean, we love it, but we hate it. It's so crazy at the same time. And who is that? That is Roger Keller in that Renault, who just found himself spinning out, and that is his positions undone. Now is in the grasp of Mr. Rohey Robinson coming around that corner, and I'm sure we'll be smiling to see Mr. Keller right in front of him, smiling or nervous, because these two have found themselves in contact with each other for the first 3 rounds, and now in the 4th round has found himself again in the midst of each other. So again, seeing him in front might be happy to see, because at least he can gain an extra position, but at the same time, what could be going through his mind as we speak? Jaden at least seeing the likes of Michael in front of him, and he is closing that gap to him. So this is going to be a battle in the next, let's say, 2 laps, which would be cutting it very close, if I do say so myself, to mount an attack. So I'm sure he's just hoping that Michael will make a mistake at some point and cause him to gain back that position. But right now he's about 3 seconds off of the driver in front of him. Kimani Eastman is still hunting down the likes of John Singleton. Kimani being in a sandwich between the 2 AC karting generals here, John Singleton and Rodrigo Steno. Rodrigo did look like he had the pace actually, and he was doing quite a good job in the early stages, especially in qualifying and practice. So I'm sure we'll definitely be trying to keep that. But as we speak, I'm noticing that gap between Michael and Jaden just coming down further and further as we see the sandwich of Kimani Eastman, who is now under threat by Rodrigo, who is just taking a look on the inside now, and I'm guessing will be making that move, heading down now into the next fast right hander, and there he goes into the wall, and it's teammate on teammate action. Who was that? Rodrigo is now found himself in the wall. John and Kimani now continue their battle, but quickly we will reach out now because Jaden Harrison has found himself on the rear end of that BMW M2 driven by Michael McNamee, and I'm sure Michael will be hoping and praying that this time will just run out as quickly as possible. But there goes Jaden, almost 2 seconds quicker on that lap, and there he goes taking a look on the inside, and the 2 will go. Michael does have the ID line, push him wide is what I would have done, and he tried his best within reason. But again, Jaden Harrison just disconnecting from the servo, and not sure what had happened there, but Jaden looked like he got pushed into the wall. But the disconnections, man, I cannot tell you what is happening with him. But Kyle Barrett now, Michael McNamee, and guess who? Mr. Mikhail Charles now sits in P4, and these drivers are just at it 1 lap at a time. Jaden Harrison now back on the hunt again, but not sure what's going on with him and his connection here tonight. Taking a look at his ping. Yep, ladies and gentlemen, I couldn't tell you what's happening with Jaden tonight, but it's just unfortunate there, whatever is happening, because it's just thrown his race out from the beginning of the race to now. And we will continue to watch. I'm not sure if it's, well, it's only his connection being affected, so I really couldn't tell you what's happening. But right now, Kyle Barrett now looking very firm and comfortable to take this win here this evening. I'm hoping that's not the commentator's curse, but right now just being as cool and calm and as collected as possible. 204.567 was his last lap. What will he do this lap? So he's still very rapid with his pace, 2 seconds clear of anybody else. 205.6. I'm guessing just easing off a little bit now, knowing that he doesn't necessarily have too much competition near him, at least, with Michael McNamee being about 8 seconds away from him, and 2 seconds slower on that last lap. So Jaden Harrison is the only person on track at the moment that has the pace, but unfortunately there we saw him finding himself into the wall, and his race has been undone. I'm sure we'll hear about it in the steward's room after the duration of this sprint. And just a quick point, that is Luis Arenas, the Colombian, who found himself in a wall, and that promotes both John, well, everybody from John all the way down to Rohey Robinson, up at least one position. Rohey Robinson as well, seeking the likes of Nathan Brown, and is hunting down that Hyundai Elantra. So it's Hyundai on Hyundai. I don't know. Violence at this point. But that being said, we know Nathan is not a slouch. He is getting back used to being behind a steering wheel, as he is, or has been used to the controller over the past few weeks. But that being said, I'm sure will be, or has been enjoying himself, let me say. With, as you can see him on 2 wheels there, as he uses too much of the curb, heading down out of turn 1. But yeah, at this point he's gonna have to just put on the defense of his life, as Mr. Robinson there just sniffs the rear end of that Hyundai Elantra, and as you can hear, the farts are very loud and the smell must be very bad, as the two are just inseparable now as they go downtown the streets of Sao Paulo. We have 10 seconds more in this race, and then we will have 1 lap, so we'll have 2 more laps of race, well, 1 more lap after this one of racing, as Kyle now will be finishing up this lap and then be on to his final lap of the race. P1, P2, let me look, take a quick look, because Jaden Harrison there has found himself into the rear end of the Hyundai Elantra of Kimani Eastman, but Jaden Harrison has found himself right there ready for the picking between himself and that Hyundai in front of him. John, it looked like the three could have maybe found some action here in a lot of stages, but Jaden will be on the hunt for that final, well, not the final position, but at least 4P5 of this race. Rohey Robinson as well, sticking like glue to the rear end. But again, it's like every time I switch to a driver, there's some form of dramatics, to put it light. But there we see Kimani Eastman. I'm not sure where Jaden Harrison is, but at this point it's just not safe. Jaden is miles ahead of him. So yeah, we're definitely going to have to take a look at what's going on there for the reverse grid with Jaden, because I am not entirely sure what has been happening throughout this race for him. And there goes Kimani Eastman and he just lost his car, and no, is not where you want to, because this is the final lap of the race. And he's now in the picking position of his teammate as well as Rohey Robinson, so at least at this point he can maybe hope that his teammate will help him, or maybe even the two can help each other to keep the likes of Rohey Robinson away from the positions in front of them. Jaden Harrison in P5 moves up and is on the hunt, but I'm sure, I'm going to assume, will not be able to catch up before the end of this race. But Rohey Robinson has a perfect view of these drivers. You can ride along board with Mr. Robinson now, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is what these drivers have been seeing for the last 24 minutes, and they have another 20-minute sprint race with the reverse grid coming up right after this. And Rohey Robinson now just sticking and waiting and hoping for an opportunity to pounce. But that being said, we did say it earlier that he was in prime position to finish this race, but Kyle Barrett now comes around the final corner as he passes the gas station pit entry and the S chicane to finish out this race in P1, and he did not put one foot wrong. He did lose P1 at the start, but there was so much controversy behind it that we're not even entirely sure. But there he goes, Kyle Barrett, P1 driver from the main race. Mikhail Charles now comes around the S chicane as well to finish out in P2. The Trinidad driver Jaden Harrison again disconnects from the servo, but I believe that will be John Singleton. No, it will not be, as there goes Jaden Harrison down the inside, and through goes Harrison for the final podium position. So we'll definitely be checking on what had happened here for Jaden Harrison, but Jaden takes P3 away from John Singleton, and the likes of Michael McNamee, Roger Keller still on the way, but Michael McNamee now finishes up in P5. He was looking very good for that P2 position, and unfortunate for him there, just finding himself in the wall. Roger Keller now in P6. Kimani Eastman in P7 got to hold off the likes of Mr. Rohey Robinson. P8 goes to Mr. Rohey Robinson, but Mr. Arenas did take P9. Nathan Brown dropped out and has finished in P11. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, what an absolute spectacle of a race. And if I do say so, absolute mayhem. I'm gonna open the chats for you to hear how the drivers are discussing in these stages of the race.
Because that first lap where me and Kimani licked some.
Yeah, teleport, your car does teleport.
Yeah, you are you the only time you ever teleport? The one time.
Yeah, you teleport right next to it. With the pits, you're flying through the air.
Could I have a 6?
Yeah, right.
Or 7, I mean.
On the last corner.
Oh my goodness.
What's it? A 7 did I have or 6?
You did that 6, I mean did that 7.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
he didn't teleport. He teleport. He put a teleport in front of me, in the behind me, and then disappear, and then the last corner he appeared back.
Me dash him, me teleporting, and
You never wanna know how I'm scared.
Yeah, that threw me the first time. I don't know, he kept going straight, and I wonder.
Yeah, that happened. Me seeing driver off. I'm say, oh no. I'm say Wayne gone now. Wayne gone now. So the whole time I worry now is coming. I want him pop up near me.
We race.
This is gonna be my drop race. Kimani and Nathan, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I think I was driving angry for the whole race.
I will see it. We look at that mirror a couple times. We see it. I drive off straight. Oh no.
oh god, bro. I was like, yes, we come all the way from the way back, you know, bro. even see how far, but man, from P7, I'm gonna say, alright, just make it to the end. And then I see this man care, no one's dive. I said no. And then lick up another tree. My back up, lick up another tree again. Back up, lick up another tree. I said, oh God, so sad, man.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was just a little sneak peek of what the drivers, or how the drivers have been speaking through this evening's race. But they did enjoy it for the majority. Uh, they're now discussing the likes of Mikhail Charles. I'll give you that brief
Guys,
walkthrough now.
It was planned.
Yeah.
Mikhail Charles there
and luck.
finishing in P2.
Yeah, luck too, yeah.
Again, as we've said in the past,
Bro, you know what?
Mikhail does
You know what
find
killed me too?
himself
On the back straight, I was there trying to put.
in the top steps of the racing.
Jaden, man, you teleported in midair, flying through the pits on that last corner, and then suddenly you appeared next to me, by overtaking on that corner. I couldn't believe that. It looked like you just crashed and flew through the wall.
Oh,
On my side, it was smooth.
That's how it always is.
Yeah, you're teleporting. Yeah.
And we disappear right behind him. Dude.
It was a couple
Yeah, Mr.
times where
Fortune.
Jaden, you disappear in front of me, like you just vanish. And then disappear, yeah. Like all through the first lap, I think I was in first, and because on my connection, it looked like Jaden just goes straight on. And I look up in the barrier, but then him just appear in front of me, so I said, "What?"
Yeah, I found it.
Well, man, East man, tell you say when that first lap of Milik, you know what happened? Man, I drive fan on the street, you know. Man, say, alright, let me use little push to pass. And when me take a step, man, say, want me carry soon, so. I'm look on the speedometer. I didn't break, man. Bro, I started slowing down, and then yeah, drive past me, and then boom. I don't know what.
Yeah, come on, why you so long for me,
And ladies and gentlemen, that was just a little sneak peek. A little sneak peek at what the drivers, or how the drivers discussed during their briefing. As you can tell, this is a community. We do enjoy each other's companies, even if we do at some points find ourselves arguing a little bit more than we would want to. But it is racing, and you know, at the end of the day, this is a community that we're trying to build, a community of hardcore racers that, yes, we want to win, and we want to win at all costs, but at the same time we have respect among everybody, you know. So always awesome to see and hear these drivers as we go on and on and on. And a very, very eventful rolling start this has been. And we're just organizing with the drivers to get everybody on their queue as we prepare for the final or the penultimate race, the final race for this evening, but the penultimate season for the Brazilian Tour. Rodrigo Wild will be leading from Nathan Brown, from Luis Arenas, from Rohey Robinson, from DeVille Park, from Kimani Eastman, from Michael McNamee, Roger Keller, Jaden Harrison, Mikhail Charles, Kyle Barrett, and John Singleton, who is experiencing a little bit of lag. But there we will go, green light racing, and there goes Rodrigo Wild now taking the first turn by storm. Nathan Brown looked like he may have considered taking a little bit of a deeper entry, and there goes, I saw a little bit of contact. But not enough to call a safety car. We'll just watch as the drivers will continue. That looked like a racing incident as Mikhail Charles now makes contact with Roger Keller, who careens into Jaden Harrison there. But three did not meet into that accident, so there will not be a safety car for that one, unfortunately. So unfortunately, Roger and John will have to find their way back up. Calvert there as well, right there on the rear end of Jaden Harrison. I think they too are just trying to, you know, stay as clean as possible for the first few laps. They know they have the pace. Mikhail Charles, Kimani Eastman now being hunted by him, but this is going to be a train from Luis Arenas all the way down. Rohey Robinson is somebody who is not necessarily patient. As you see him taking a look there on this, he will be on the outside there as they head down now into the fast right hander. And will he try for a switcheroo, get the better exit? And he did try, but not enough was that for him. DeVille Park now as well, looking on the outside to see where he can get onto the mix, as he is side by side with Rohey Robinson. Rohey not getting the best exit there as he would have liked, and DeVille Park is in prime position now, and the two will make contact, and there they go into the wall. And Rohey Robinson and DeVille Park now sitting in the spectator area, as we would call it. But Calvert there again, he and Jaden Harrison just waiting and taking the time to make their moves one lap at a time. Jaden Harrison there on the rear end of his good friend Mr. Mikhail Charles takes a look on the inside. Is this the right place to make this move? They did not make contact, but the two barely making it through that S-chicane. And Calvert now as well looking to see if he can gain an advantage on the driver ahead from Trinidad and Tobago, as they have the run down now into turn one. Going down that hill, you have to brake a little bit or that much earlier when you're heading down the hill, and they do make a little bit of contact between Jaden, Kyle and Mikhail there, but nonetheless they get out without too much damage to their one another. Right now Rodrigo Wild is looking very comfortable up in front. Kimani Eastman in P3, and that was a huge jump in the order, as he and Jaden are now up into P2 and P3, and Michael McNamee as well. Who was that? Nathan Brown and Luis Arenas just lost it, and unfortunately will be sitting down now in P6, P8, my apologies, P6 and P11 for the two. So Jaden Harrison and Kimani Eastman now, as well as Rodrigo, are the three on the podium. Michael McNamee is going to be hunted now by Mr. Kyle Barrett now, who is one who we've seen has pace, and I'm sure we'll be trying to just dismantle the few in front of him one by one. As you see Jaden Harrison there on the outside, and Michael getting the best view of this move. As he sees Jaden make the move on Kimani Eastman and move on up into P2, and there is Michael just thinking a little bit better of it, backing out early, just making himself known. He knows he can make the move later down, but Kimani Eastman has been somebody who is rapid with defense and rapid on track. So will he be able to put on and mount a good defense to keep the likes of the Jamaican driver, his countryman Mr. Michael McNamee, behind? Jaden Harrison is still very much so on the hunt. I did notice Kyle lost out to Luis Arenas there, so not entirely sure what had happened for him there, but nonetheless, he still has about 16, let's call it about 18 minutes before the conclusion of this race. He has 16 minutes plus 1 lap, and I'm sure we will see his pace coming back to fruition as the race goes on. He does have 60 kilograms of ballast after winning that race last week. And who is that? Mikhail Charles went straight and did not, I guess, was trying to use Kyle as his brake marker there, and he is now immediately relegated to P9 on the track. So again, I'm sure we'll hear about this in the post-race stewarding, but definitely not what we were expecting to see in any way, shape, or form, as we just saw the likes of a very rapid BMW M2 heading down into turn 1. And there we see Rohir Robinson with a purple sector 2. And again, I think at this point it's best I just leave his name out of my mouth, because I believe every time we do mention Rohir's name or take a look on his screen, we're finding himself in a corner. He did state, and I believe you would have heard it during the driver briefing earlier. Not the driver briefing, but the post-race cool down room. This will be his drop race from this championship. It wasn't the best run of form, but nonetheless, he's definitely put on a show for the majority of this race. Nonetheless, but that being said, Michael McNamee though has lost out to Mr. Arenas in front of him, and Kyle Barrett as well has caught up to that bunch of the pack right in front. So the final podium position is very much so up for grabs, if we do say so ourselves, as well. Jaden Harrison, who has just been on the hunt for Rodrigo, pushing Rodrigo even into the 204s there for the first time this evening. So Rodrigo definitely, I'm guessing, is feeling the pressure, as his last lap was a 204.870. Jaden Harrison 7 tenths quicker. So Rodrigo will have 11 minutes to defend against that rapid Jamaican driver right behind him, and we'll take a look at this in a moment's time. But right now, this would be his best finishing position here at the JSRA. So definitely rooting for that BMW M2 from AC Karting Team, Mr. Rodrigo Wild, who is holding on for dear life as he has the Jamaican right there on the rear view. And there he goes, taking a look, and goes down the inside, and there is Jaden Harrison taking that position relatively easy. Maybe saying, hey, you know what, I know you have the pace, let's not fight it out. Maybe he can mount an attack later down and just use Jaden to pull himself away. But they are about 11 seconds clear of the 16 seconds clear, my apologies, of the cars behind them. Michael McNamee being pounded by that Mitsubishi Lancer. That is the race winner from the main event in Kyle Barrett. They're chasing down Michael McNamee, and he does have a fender in front and a wheel arch. But there goes Michael McNamee a little bit later on the brakes. But there goes the switcheroo for Mr. Barrett, and that move is done. And he is now on the hunt for that final podium position right in front of him. He has about a 6-second buffer to the car ahead, so he will have some work to do in the closing stages of this race, plus having to defend. We know the tenacity that Michael McNamee will ensue, and he is one that will definitely send a late dive bomb to try and gain back that position, all within reason. But that being said, Kyle will have a little bit of work to do now, as he is now on the hunt for the Colombian in Luis Arenas. Jaden Harrison and Rodrigo as well are very much so just slightly pulling away from each other. 16 seconds is the gap between Jaden, but 15 now the gap between Rodrigo and Luis. Now we take a look at Nathan Brown of Ken Racing, which I just found out what the real nature of that name is. It is Kimani, Enrique, and Nathan Racing. That is a abbreviated version of Ken Racing. So a very interesting name, if I do say so myself. But yes, we have Nathan Brown back behind the likes of a steering wheel, and very excited to have him back, as he has been missing in action for a little bit because of his duties in real life. And then when he came back, he was back on his controller, but now back on a steering wheel. And there he goes, right there on the inside, goes side by side with John. And again found himself into that pole. I think for the first time in my career, my commentator's curse is just that much more powerful than the commentator's blessing. Because every time I switch to a driver, they just find themselves in a wall, which, oh yes, they just find themselves into a wall. So yeah, again, Rohey Robinson and Mr. Nathan Brown, this time I will apologize. That one was on me. But Kyle there at least has dropped that 6-second buffer now to 4 seconds. So he is making his way downtown. And again, we did say that we are in downtown Brazil. And there is 6.5 minutes remaining, and the drivers are still pushing to see where they can finish out this race and gain as many points leading into the final stage of this championship. Jaden Harrison there, rapid, uh, only driver at the moment in the 204s. I know Rodrigo saw the 204s for a few times, but that 16-second gap has dropped down now to 14 seconds. So, he is, I'm guessing, just kind of easing off a little bit to try his best to just maintain position. This is a very tricky track, and you don't want to make any foolish mistakes causing you the win or the podium position. So Rodrigo definitely just holding on and keeping very consistent 205 there, and he will just be pushing through until the end of this race. Cal Barrett there still on the hunt, but he's basically matching pace with Mr. Arenas as he comes around the line now. What time did he do? 205.2, so he's about a second quicker on that lap, but still that is not going to do because Luis is typically in the 205.7 region. So he'll still have quite a bit of work to do, but still, with 5 minutes remaining, let's hope that he can bring a little bit of extra action. As there goes Roger Kello with a dive down the inside on John Singleton, and he is promoted now into P8, P7, my apologies. Please ignore the numbering on the sides there, but yes, Roger Kello now moves up into P7 and will be on the hunt now, but still quite a ways away from the cars ahead of him. And as Jaden Harrison now comes around the start finish line, there goes Michael McNamee almost losing the car. Did he lose it? I don't think he did, no, but he did lose that position too. Rohit Robinson, Jaden Harrison there just stamping his dominance, and this, ladies and gentlemen, will be the penultimate lap of the race. We have one more lap of racing after this one, and Jaden Harrison, who had set the fastest lap with a 203.4, just set it again with a 203.5, just set it again with a 203.452. So he is even beating his own qualifying time here in the race, so he's definitely finding his footing and getting a little bit of comfort. Rohit Robinson did make the move up on Michael McNamee because of just losing the car. The back end just got very light, and it's almost like he just, but he saved it, so he didn't lose too many positions. But at the same time, he is relegated down now into P6, and Rohit Robinson promoted in to P5, and the racing will continue. But that being said, let's just take a lap with Jaden Harrison, who is just absolutely rapid right now. He is showing no likes for concern. He's like Max Verstappen there in the rain at Brazil about 3 or 2 weeks ago. Was it? Could be a little bit longer. And there you see him. He is still pushing. He has such a big gap, but nonetheless is just trying to state his dominance here. Kyle Barrett did mount a very promising attack in qualifying and started this race on pole position and went on to win this race. We were, in my opinion, deprived of that battle between these two with whatever connection issues Jaden was going on or enduring during that race, unfortunately. In race one, but nonetheless he has just come back out and just put on an absolute spectacle of a show. Cal Barrett though is promoted into P3, so I'm guessing Luis Arenas there had made a mistake, because he was almost 7 seconds clear of, or 6 seconds clear of Kyle Barrett there on the last lap. So I'm guessing there was some mistake that would have had happened in the last few moments that just pushed Kyle Barrett now to make that move, and is now in P3 to be the final podium position sitter for this evening. We are on the final lap, ladies and gentlemen, and we will have interviews in only a moment's time between Kyle Barrett there and Jaden Harrison, Rodrigo Senowal, and Mr. Mikhail Charles. So definitely excited to hear the experience from these drivers. I'm sure they won't be filled with too many words. I'm sure at this point they're just, fatigued, tired. Honestly, at this point I'd even say exasperated, but we don't want to go too extreme. Let's hear from the drivers themselves. But the amount of concentration that you have to maintain throughout this race is just definitely a task, to say the least. But we have about maybe about 30 seconds left in this race, and we will be seeing the drivers coming through now into the final sector, as Jaden Harrison should be starting it now. Yes, he does, and we'll be heading down now to finish out this race. He finished the first race 2 positions behind the car that is now 2 positions behind him. Well, one position behind the car that's behind him in Mr. Kyle Barrett now. But Jaden Harrison comes across the finish line to take the second race, race number 2 in P1, 1 position ahead of the race winner from the first race. What an absolute spectacle of a drive, as now we see Rodrigo in his best finishing position here at the JSRA. He looked good in practice, looks even better in the race, and he comes to finish it in P2. Rodrigo Senowal of Chile now, and one of the leaders there and developers over at AC Karting, finishes off in P2. Race winner from race 1 comes across the line in race 2 to finish in P3. Luis Arenas as well in P4. Very good finish from him. Always a consistent drive. Could have been on the podium, but just one curb too many. Michael McNamee as well in P5. Rohit Robinson comes around now to finish and that gives him P6. Roger Keller now in P7. John Singleton should be coming up sooner than later. Now there he goes in P8. And was that a battle? It was a complete drag race between John and Nathan. And we just caught last back into that battle, and it looks as if John got that battle between himself and Nathan. Kimani Eastman in P10, Nathan in P9, and Deville Park in P11. Unfortunately, we did not have Mikhail Charles finishing this race, but he will be in the driver's room. But in the meantime, I will give you guys a little bit of insight in the drivers and their discussions as we prepare for the interviews.
And then the car do some things I never know if that do.
Yeah, and then, bro, from there, bro, I
Like
just did my race, man.
I never you kill me at the pole.
Yeah, I'm good. Can I back up from the pits? Oh, I tried, but I got a penalty. I'm sorry. I can, yeah. It was an exciting battle with Jaden, but I don't think I would have caught him. He was just on another level. But good clean race. A big contrast to the first race, and just kept it clean. And I didn't battle Jaden too hard.
Yeah, so we noticed that you just gave him the leeway into the corner. I guess you just decided to just use him to pull you along. Unfortunately, I think my mic was muted in the initial stages of the interview, so I'll just give you another brief introduction. My apologies, but ladies and gentlemen, we are speaking with Rodrigo Senna Wild, who did finish in P2. His best finishing position here at the JSRA. He's one of the head developers over at AC Karting, a very good friend of ours here at the JSRA, and one who we are working on to begin our first ever karting championship in and alongside it with the AC Karting team. And what a championship that is going to be. That begins next week, so please again stay tuned to our social medias as well as theirs. Follow them on their Instagram, and I'll ask him to just give you guys some insight to that at the end of this interview. But yes, as you said, it was a much cleaner race, as I will agree. A lot less headaches, if I do say so myself. Could you walk us through, well, race one? I don't know if you want to revisit that.
Incredibly bad start. Lots of incidents. I don't want to point any fingers, but I'll point them right back at myself. And then race one, but race two was nice and clean, and as you said, excited to be in the podium and have a chance to also very excited to move forward with this karting championship. It's been a lot of hard work, and it's going to be fun, close racing.
Absolutely. And next week we're starting at the Franciacorta racetrack in Italy. Can you give us a little bit of insight on what we're gonna expect in the first round? And as well, could you just confirm, will you be racing in the first round?
Yeah. I like to
Also-
take part. You know, these guys are so fast, though. I just Jaden will tell you, he's up there. They have another second on me every time. But I'll be giving it my best. Usually, I like to try to keep it steady and see what happens. This is a good example. But
Exactly.
Franciacorta is the first round. That's a very fast track in Italy. So it is sort of, if you lose it, you lose a lot of time. So having a clean race in the karts is really important. New tire model that we're testing out for this championship as well. Very excited to show that to all our members, and also have a new track coming out this weekend called the Alaharma in Finland. That's also a very fun roller coaster
Yep.
of a ride.
And I guess you can just give the insights to the fans that they will actually see a actual roller coaster on track.
Yeah, it actually does have a roller coaster on track. Cuts right through the track. You go right under it. But the track itself is kind of exemplary of where it is. It really is a lot of elevation. I think it's 38 meters from top to bottom. On a kart, that's extreme.
It's extreme. And trust me, I cannot wait. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the lead developer behind the Palisados track, our own local Jamaican track, and we are so excited. And that will be the final round of the AC Karting Championship, or the first AC Karting Championship that we'll have in collaboration with the JSRA. But trust me, the mods over at that on their Patreon is absolutely ridiculous. I've driven one or two karts in my lifetime, and it is almost the same exact thing, just without your insides ripping apart. So very much so looking forward to the championship to come. But yeah, Luis, can you just give us a little bit of an idea of where, if anybody's watching that wants to take part, where they can get these mods and your Patreon information?
Absolutely, yeah. The Patreon is at AC Karting. You'll find it there. Same with our Instagram. You could find also my Wild Dimensions. That's my personal Instagram, where I have a lot of the updates there as well. And actually, a good segue to talk about the Palisados track that's coming up. That's going to be a scan, an actual track scan. So it's going to be actually quite accurate. And a good example of that is Alaharma, which is actually a LiDAR scan as well.
Wicked.
So that'll give you an idea of the kind of track surface and physics that you'll expect in Palisados.
Absolutely epic, man. And as always, very excited to work with you and continue to work with you. And congratulations on P2 in the semifinals to the conclusion to the Caribbean Touring Car Championship for 2024. I'm looking forward to having more of these conversations with you in the very near future.
Oh, I hope so, man. Pleasure as always. Look, fun to see you on track.
Pleasure, my brother. Thank you.
Take care,
And we'll
dude.
talk soon. And ladies and gentlemen, that was Rodrigo of AC Karting. But now we have P3 podium sitter from race 1. P2 podium sitter from race 1, Mr. Mikhail Charles.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Hello.
Yes.
Mikhail Charles, the man who never fails in a race as much as he fails in the qualifying. We heard a little exclamation by Mr. Robinson there saying, how did you finish in P2? Can you walk us through that, please, and thank you.
Well, yeah, I qualified bad, nothing new, and then just slowly over the race, I was just very consistent, and I just slowly kept gaining time, and everyone around me just kept crashing. So yeah,
It works
I just
in your
stayed
favor.
consistent, yeah, and just kind of built my way up, and it was fine.
Well, again, we make light of it, but it's always very impressive to see your quali pace is. I know you gave me leeway to say it. It is garbage, in the Caribbean Touring Car Championship, because you use the qualifying as your practice. But this was the first time you've ever used the actual practice session to learn a track.
Oh yeah, because the track was just way. It's just hard.
Can
It's way
you-
more hard than a normal track.
Can you give some insight to the fans and the audience of what you experienced here tonight? We did see you retire from the second race, but could you walk us through your experience and then the second race experience as well, and what led to that retirement?
Well, I don't know, like, I don't know what I do to from like quality to like practice, but I just kind of do laps and it just kind of works out every time. Usually, it just works out. And race one, it was fun. You know, I was side by side with the McName into the like the fast right hander. You know, I almost died. I don't know if you got that on stream, but
I
it was
definitely
epic.
did.
Yeah, it was epic. That was an epic fight. That was a good battle with McName. And then race two, was dog. Like it wasn't good at all. I think it's because I got 50 kilograms of ballast and I
Ballast.
had no practice with ballast. So I was like a bit slower, which was fine. But then I kept making like silly mistakes. So that I think I got hit a few times in lap one, and then I just made a full mistake, spun off when I was last, and then I just kept making mistakes over and over and over. I just decided that was it.
That was okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And finally, your thoughts on the track. It looked fun to drive, but very challenging at the same time. Any thoughts? Any final thoughts?
Oh, that was an amazing track. I loved it. Besides, like the plus ballast, because I think the plus ballast, because of how close you are in that track,
Yeah.
like I was close to the walls every single time. So when I got plus ballast, I just got even closer, and then it just
Yeah.
went bad.
Yeah.
But the track overall is really fun. I really like it.
Well,
I wish I did more practice laps, to be honest.
let's hopefully get some fans rooting for Mr. Childs to get some laps done in the week. But that being said, if it does help you, I would love to join you guys on for practice this week, as well as for Bahrain, 2-hour endurance that we'll have coming up in the next few weeks. But hopefully, if that will entice you to get some laps in, I'll gladly do some laps with you as we have a little bit of downtime leading up. But nonetheless, brother, congratulations on P2. Coming from the back of the pack, you started with 210s on the times, and you've made your way down into the 204s, 205s. So, congratulations, brother, and always a pleasure to have you on air with us, on track with us, and in the servo with us.
Yeah, same to you.
Oh, thank you, bro. Have a good evening.
Yeah, bye.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was Mikhail Charles of Trinidad and Tobago. Finished the first race in P2, did not finish in the second race, but now we have the driver who was started or had started in P2 and did make the move on Mr. Harris, on Mr. Kyle in the initial stages. Oh, okay. Scared me for a second. Mr. Jaden Harrison, who has been an absolute spectacle on and off the track. He himself has just shown a different level of commitment to the not just the JSRA but just the racing field on the whole. But he did finish the first race in P3 after many incidents, and we'd love to hear what had happened there for him, as well as in P1 in the first race, in the second race, my apologies. Mr. Jaden Harrison, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
You can. Perfect. And let me just try and add this for the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a sneak peek of the actual driver here on screen. I should have had this set up from before, but I have it set up now. Jaden Harrison did an absolutely epic job here. He made it all the way up in the second part of the race as well, where he was literally chasing down up until he fought with Michael McNamee. It looked like a servo disconnection, and Jaden found himself, or servo delay. I'm guessing you can walk us through it, but Could you walk us through race 1, please? And thank you.
So my computer was stuttering. So on the first couple laps, I almost spun out, and then I end up reaching, I ended up hitting the wall with a big stutter. So that really ended my potential win in race 1. But I think because I was using the Wi-Fi instead of the Ethernet cable, for some reason the Wi-Fi took over. So I guess I was lagging on the other end in race 1, but on my side everybody else was too. So yeah, and end up getting taken off all the time. But I think about the lag, I'm not sure. Review the penalty. Yeah, it was a terrible race.
Well, it was a terrible race 1 just because of the internet connections, but race 2 was an absolute spectacle. You fought your way back from the back of the pack all the way up into P1. At one point you were in P7, and the next we see you in P2, or P3, my apologies, fighting for P2 and then on the hunt for P1. Could you walk us through the second race, which was more of a spectacle and I'm sure you'd be happier with?
Yeah, I think second race I was mad about the first race and I just start drive. I think I did a 203
4.
mid,
Right.
and I had pace for a 202, but I slapped the rear of the car into the wall. I just said, you know what, let me just finish the race. But yeah, it's like race 1 was so past the point where in race 2 I just start driving. Start driving hard, just got through the pack, stay out of incidents. Race 2 was a bit cleaner, we had no restarts.
Thank God.
So props to the driver on that.
Absolutely.
And I guess just got lucky with the getting through.
Well, it was an absolutely epic race for you, brother. We were talking with Rodrigo earlier with regards to the AC Karting Championship that we have starting next week, and he did say to ask you what your thoughts on the drivers were. So you could just give us a little bit of an insight into next week's racing with the Karting Championship as well before we even get there. Your expectations heading now into the final round at Sao Paulo Interlagos circuit next week for the finale. You, Daniel, and Rohey Robinson, and even Kyle now are definitely going to be the top 3, top 4 who we are expecting to fight it out until the last bitter end. Can you walk us through your expectations for that and then the AC Karting Championship?
Well, yeah, next race is going to be an endurance race, so it's going to be harder, and it really will definitely decide the championship. But I think it's safe to say, as long as I can finish in the usual, I think I'll have the championship. But yeah, that race is going to be a rough one because it's such a long race. But yeah, I can't leave out Rodrigo to Rodrigo in race 2. He had me trying to catch him for a couple of laps, and he was setting 204 PBs in the race. Very consistent, but I got past him, but still managed to keep away from Kyle, end up P2, so drivers are definitely developing.
And I'm sorry, I should have even mentioned that next week we should even have the likes of Kale, Vaden Ropo, Daniel Velez, and as you said, Rodrigo and John, who have never, and especially with that track that's a little bit more well known. I'm pretty much excited for that final round of the CTCC's season 4 2024. But finally, just give us a little bit of insight on your expectations for the karting championship. I know you are helping with the tire model on the kart, and you know we've just been testing. You've been taking the lead from the JSRA side. Can you walk us through what your expectations are with regards to that championship on the way?
Yeah, well, starting next week, we'll be going by like real life schedule, so lots of racing, like real life race format, a lot of heat racing, a lot of fast drivers from real life, drivers in FIA Karting Championship, winners of the Australian Karting Championship, some fast drivers coming into that, and we did the test race last week and they were they were all rapid, very, very fast, setting PBs in the new cart already. But yes, if we can get some good numbers for that, that would be a next good series to watch.
Absolutely. But Jaden, again, as always, congratulations on P1 in the second race, P3. You had the pace to fight for the top step in the first race with Kyle, and we did miss that battle between you two, but nonetheless, congratulations on the outcome, and it was an absolute epic race to watch from our side, and we thank you for it as always.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you next week for the finale, as well as for the final driver championship, or the AC karting championship, heading in to conclude this year's racing season. But as always, brother, thank you so much for your efforts, and it's always a pleasure to have you, man. Bless you, and thank you.
All right, you too. Good race.
Yes, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, that was driver 604, Mr. Jaden Harrison himself. He did what an absolute spectacle of a race there, but finally the man himself took P1 by storm, from qualifying all the way down to the actual race. Race 1 finish off in P1, and race 2 finishing off in P3. He's one of the newest drivers on the field that is just taking the grid by storm. And again, as we've said before, new to sim racing, or new to the JSRA, but not new to racing on a whole. This man has quite a belt behind him. Mr. Kyle Barrett finishing off in P1 and P3. Kyle, can you hear me?
Yeah, how are you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, perfectly. I'm a little bit tired, but I can't imagine how you are right now.
Yeah, I'm a little sweaty right now, but
imagine.
Good.
Well,
Hands hurt a bit.
Yeah, well, I can imagine, and I know why. With what you have there working with, but well, first let's again congratulations on the 2 podium finishes, but 1. We'd love to hear your insights on that pole lap, setting it with a 203. What was it? 203.2, 203.1.
It was 9. It was a 239.
Sure about that?
Yeah.
The qualifying?
Yeah, qualify. Yeah.
I'll double check that. I feel like it was somewhere faster, but still, what a rapid lap that was. Could you walk us through that lap, because you, Rohe and Jaden were definitely fighting it out for the initial stages, but you ended up getting pole position. Could you walk us through that, and then we'll get into race 1?
Yeah, well, I mean, I knew I had the pace to be on pole. I mean, on a track like this, it's very unforgiving, so you have to be patient, but also be able to push the car to the limit to get that lap time out. So there's really no room for error. So like, I knew I could have gone much faster than that, but I saw the lap time that well, originally I was on like a 2:40, and Jaden had just topped that.
200s up, you're right.
Yeah. And then I had, qualifying was coming to an end. I had like, I don't know, maybe like 2 laps of fuel, if that, left. I was just trying to cool down the tires and go for 1 good lap. And I mean, I knew I could get in 203s easy, but I just wanted to be on pole, and I feel like, especially in the past couple of races, I always get missed it by on the last lap by either Rohe or Jaden, and so I may have wanted that a little bit more than the race win this week, just to prove I can be on pole. But yeah, it felt good, and I knew I could go a little bit faster, but it doesn't matter, as long as I got a pole, it was fine. So it was good.
Well, you were right. You did a 203.906. Jaden was a 204.025. So yeah, you were right there. But again, I'll extend the congratulations to that first of all. But again, congratulations as well for P1 in the race. It was a very strange beginning of the race, but I think after everything kind of settled, it was maybe I'm not gonna say a cruise, because a track like this you're not necessarily cruising, but you could at least back off a little bit and just make the driver instinct work. But could you walk us through what was going through your mind at the initial stages and what you saw from your point of view, if it matches back up to what we the spectators saw.
Yeah, the before the restart of the first race was a bit weird. I think like Jaden on my end at least, he was lagging pretty bad. So, I mean, overall, my strategy even from P1 was to just, cruise in this race. Like I wasn't trying to push at all, and that's what I was doing,
Yeah.
both race one and race two, because again, like it's a track where if you push even slightly over the limit, like, you can lose so much time and be in the wall very easily. So it's better to be safe than be sorry. But yeah, going into turn one before the restart, on my end, it just looked like Jaden just went straight on, and I was like, okay, I'm in front now, so I was just like, let me just cruise, and then after like turn two, I think it was, he just appeared in front of me, so I was pretty confused.
Yeah.
Um, um,
Trust me.
oh, that was
Watch over
actually
the
the
stream.
second. Yeah, that was actually the second after the initial restart, after the second restart. But the first one was when we all got bundled up and taken out, or whatever else happened
Yeah.
in the back. But yeah. But then even though whatever happened, and he ended up in front of me, like my strategy again was literally just a crew. Like I wasn't trying to race him and like catch up on him and try to, do all that. I knew that we had both of us had a decent amount of pace over the rest of the field if we wanted it. So it was really just a strategy just to pull away and then just kind of just cruise. And then if I'm feeling comfortable to race up on him and pass him and try and pass, then that would be it. But again, it's such a track where like I could have done
Yeah.
that and then lost it all in one corner,
One
and
corner.
so. And that was again my strategy for hoping for the other drivers, both in race one and race two, which ended up working out for me in my favor as Jaden had made a mistake at some point in I think the last quarter, and that had gifted me P1 back. And so I think a track like this, like it's just better to be safe and rather than take so many risks because there's no runoff areas, there's
Right.
very little fine margin for error. So yeah.
And that, folks, is a true racer's mentality where you just have to strategize and hope and just do your part on the track. But nonetheless, the second race now, I think is a little bit more eventful, if I do remember correctly. It's an incident with somebody. I'm trying to remember who. Well, yeah, you can just walk us through the second race as well and give us a little bit of insight there. Because I know as you said, you were just taking your time through, and then you were just kind of picking them off one lap at a time. And then I don't remember exactly what had happened, but you can just remind us quickly on why I think it was Luis Arenas.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think we may have missed that
Uh,
one.
Well, I mean, I had nothing to do with that. He was, I don't know, 5 seconds up the road,
Yeah,
and the same strategy as before. Like, just I was, you
just
know,
take your time.
yeah, I was trying to, get some time on him, and he was fast. He was having some really good lap times in there, and I wasn't really pushing because again, just to be safe. But then I was just hoping, like, something will happen, and I was coming, faster. I was catching up little by little here and there, and then some laps might lose a little bit of time. So it
Yeah,
was a give and take. But then, as again, like, mistakes cost a lot in this on this track. So he ended up making a mistake in that fast
just
right-hand corner, which
yep.
he had spun out, and that just gifted me the P3. Um, I think I would have been up there in P3. I mean, from the beginning of the race, like obviously with the reverse grade, I started at the back, and turn one was an absolute mess. But again, just trying to keep it clean, and I was just trying to follow Jaden through. And then in the midst of all that, like he ended up going through, and then I got caught up with some other drivers, and so he ended up just kind of driving away, and I was kind of fighting, and then drivers around me were battling or like crashing, and so there was little crashes here and there that even like made me stop or just lose time to the guys
Yeah,
up front, and
yeah,
so that's how I ended up so far back. And once I ended up fighting my way
right.
back up into which was originally P4, I was just kind of on cruise mode, just hoping for, something to happen up front, which did work to my favor and gave me the P3. And so, yeah, but it's a very fun track to drive, but it's a track where you can't lose any concentration. Like, and it's one of those tracks where like it's neither better or worse to be alone or to be around other drivers. Because like in the first race when I was alone, like yeah, I could put in good times, but then I would find myself, losing concentration because I was on my own. And then in the second race, like I'm so like worried about other drivers around me that like I still end up losing concentration because you can't miss your braking points in this
Right.
because there's no runoff areas and things
Right.
like that. So, and then the track is so narrow in some areas, so through some corners, so we really have to be mindful of other drivers and the lines that they're taking to just ultimately just have a clean race. So, great track, a lot of fun. But yeah, I think it was overall some good racing. The field was actually, you know, pretty fast overall. I think it's just because of the battling and the mistakes that made it seem like it's such spread out in terms of pace. But yeah,
Well, again, bro, congratulations, and I do share the same sentiments. It was fun to watch, and especially with a track like that, you couldn't put it better. Alone or driving together can be a hell of a drive.
yeah,
So
yeah.
again, to pull it off twice a podium, I do extend my congratulations to you. But my final question to you now is: you do have a real life racing karting career. We do have our AC Karting Championship starting next week, which will, in the finale, include the Palisadoes track. Will we be seeing you in that championship as well as the finale for the Caribbean Touring Car Championship next week, Friday, at Interlagos? Do you have any final thoughts as we head into the final staging of the CTCC series for the year? But yeah, sorry to bombard you with questions.
Yeah, it's good. Definitely will be there at the final. Trying to be more consistent in racing. So trying to be there final and get as much points as possible and continue this good form. In terms of the karting championship, it's very interesting. I'm not sure, haven't decided yet. I haven't done any testing with any of
Yeah,
the karts or anything, so driving a go-kart is completely different than driving a car.
absolutely.
So, um, I know it's gonna be crazy. I know it's gonna be a lot of fun. Uh, but we'll see, I guess.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe we can get you into the cart to do some testing. Maybe I can even jump on and do some testing with you guys because I haven't done any bit of driving in the last few days. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
nonetheless,
definitely.
bro, absolutely. Congratulations, Kyle. Very excited to have you back with us, or have you with us nonetheless. Um, and looking forward to a very bright future with you here at the JSRA, man.
Yeah, bro. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And congratulations again. And I will see you next week for the finale of the Caribbean Touring Car Championship, where we will see, I'm sure, a very intense battle between yourself, Jaden, Rohe, Daniel, John, Kimani, everybody.
Yeah, it's
So
gonna
I
be
am
crazy.
looking forward to it, man. And it's a track that is a little bit more known amongst the drivers, so you never
Yeah,
know
yeah.
what to expect. So yeah, congrats, bro, and we'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was driver number 10, Mr. Kyle Barrett, finishing race 1 in P1 and race 2 in P3 after a very dramatic but patient, as you could hear it in his voice, very patient battle through the field, but nonetheless finished on the podium in both races and is looking to take that bronze championship and be promoted. Clearly has the pace to race with the silver class drivers, so now it's just to get the legalities through the roof and will be promoted at the end of this season. As it stands, he can even miss that race and still be promoted just by his points in the standings. But that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to get into the Christmas break. We have the AC Karting Championship starting next week. We have the finale for the Caribbean Touring Car Championship next week, Friday. And we have the Bahrain 2-hour endurance coming in a matter of 2 weeks. away. Ladies and gentlemen, if I do say so myself, I am absolutely excited. I cannot wait for especially that Bahrain race. We are trying to see if I can even get involved in the racing action and get behind a wheel. I haven't done that since we've started the JSRA, so we are in the hunt for one of our pre-commentators to run the stream for us so that we can just enjoy the fruits of our labor. But that being said, I've had an absolute blast at this track for round 4 at Mirandopolis. This has been an absolute spectacle of driving from the drivers from the front of the pack to the back. It's been non-stop action since the beginning of this Brazilian tour. If you are interested in joining us, we do look forward to your action. We want to see you in the spectator booth. We want to see you on track. So please feel free to subscribe. Join us on our Instagram. Join us in our Discord. We have a community of over 800 drivers. We want to see that translate back onto the track now. We have the free roam cruising servers. We have the drift servers, the drag servers. We have everything that you can imagine. We just want a community conducive to racing and clean, hardcore racing. I've been your host, Mr. Stephen Stewart, and it was an absolute delight here to have you, and thank you for having me. And I will see you next week for the finale as well as the beginning of the AC Karting Championship. I bid you a very well good night.
Oh yeah.
He's trying to switch around.
Yeah.
You came and failed the test, you met the best, expected chess, but got monopoly. I came and bought you out, I knocked you out, I cropped you out with no apologies. I am the hope, the heart, the faith, the spark, the one who will fulfill the prophecy. I just been counting, never lounging, climbing up mountains, bouncing back. Step in the ring, about you step back. They'll learn hot when I get on the track. I like it louder the most, watching all these sheep just bow down to the goat. If I can't decide, I'ma probably get both. We can celebrate, but right now I'm a toast, resurrected.
Here is Eastman going side by side with Jaden Harrison. Jaden Harrison took him on the inside, but Eastman says no and closes the door. But here he is now about to lose 2 positions heading into the